of our summit.
I would like to call upon two representatives from each group. Firstly, I would like to invite Tong Yuchen, followed by Shweta Vera from group number 1 from Vulnerable Group and Community, to come forward and discuss with us the recommendations recorded in your group.
May I start with my speech? Uh, yes, in the breakout session, we discuss about the things that affect the earth and the actions also which affect the earth. We talked about the rights of the children. Like example, they have a right to pure air. They have a right for proper education. They have a right to eat proper food, drink drink clear water, and they have a right to live in a safe planet. We also discuss about all the things we do in our daily life and that do not affect the earth. We also give many commitments, for example, having a basic life, planting trees to avoid plastic in our day-to-day life, saving water and not wasting our food. We also actually discussed how socialization also affect the nature. We also discussed how climate changes affect the diet of many people who are poor and who get affected the most by it, and they do not get a proper food to it because the crops also get destroyed due to many disasters. We also have discussed that many people have information about the climatic change, but they do not put it into their actions. They do not take it seriously. How we can influence them? We can influence them by telling us stories, how telling us stories of different things. And also we discussed many things like in the Amazons, we just click and we can buy anything, and they mostly affect our things. So how can we stay focused? How can we remove out from us from all these things, not buy things from Amazons or that do not that affect our earth, harm our earth a lot. So we should focus on the things and buy the things which are not affecting our earth. And also we discuss how to we can share all the things which are learning in this meeting. We can share our things with our friends, families, and tell them to do those things. So, and also we discuss how we can do things like we can segregate our kitchen waste by composting and all these things we discuss. Yes, that's
Thank you so much, Shweta. The commitments you mentioned were very, insightful, and also the fact that you explicitly mentioned about Amazon. So there's a very important question for all of us to think: that are we trading environmental conservation over convenience? So let's think about it. And now I would also call Tom from the same group to add his takeaways from the discussion.
Sweet has say a lot of what we talk. I want to say what we learn from the talk we learn.
Tom, sorry to interrupt. Could you please turn on your video if possible?
Okay.
Thank you.
I think I learned that climate change is a very important thing, and we all need to do something for it. And in the future, I will talk about with my friends and my parents, and let them know climate change is very important, and they will do something to change the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Today you represent China, and you seeing the passion to bring a change in world. That's commendable. Thank you so much for being here. And now calling the representatives from group 2, I would request Zidane to please come up and share your learnings.
Uh, First of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity to present myself over here. Now, what we learned in our breakout session was the various impacts of climate change on various different countries, such as Bangladesh, South Sudan, Lebanon, Israel, etc. Several recommendations were made for their respected countries in order to tackle the situation of climate change. We also discussed how each and every one of us would do our little part in order to make a change and protect our planet. We discussed how non veganism or consumption of meat is by far one of the biggest methane producers on the planet, and how shifting to veganism would reduce an individual's carbon footprint by a significant proportion. Everyone also gave their various points of views to tackle the situation and provide us with a good basic knowledge of the situation in hand. And yeah, that pretty much summarizes up the session. Thank you.
Thank you for summarizing that beautifully, and these points were truly intriguing. And we would really like if you could also turn on your videos. I request everyone, please turn on your videos. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. It is so great to see you with the backdrops of your countries, and that's an amazing feeling. Yeah. So moving ahead, I would like to call Anushka from Group 2 to add her takeaways.
Yeah, as Zidan also rightly said, we had the veganism versus non-vegetarian debate. We discussed about possible food swaps and how vegan food and vegetarian food in general is cooked in a more healthier format, and also how it's more important to adopt a reducitarian approach, even if you cannot just suddenly transition to veganism. We also discussed, I discussed a short story about how geological changes happen because of climate change, and I expressed and many of us expressed our concerns about how potentially we are scared that our future environment might not look the same, and we might not be able to share it with the posterity. We also, Zedan also presented a very apt point that it's not just important to, the steps and measures that we are talking and discussing about, and when taking some of them, it's, they are definitely in place for slowing down the pace of climate change, but we really need to make some technological advancements to actually stop and reverse climate change. And government accountability plays a very important role, is what Abhinav also rightly added. Authorities need to be held accountable and responsible. Also, we discussed some practical approaches and commitments to a more reduced-tarian animalistic lifestyle. Thank you.
Wow, that's great. And thank you for representing your group so well and quoting the members from your group. And definitely, it is certainly proven that our personal lifestyle choices, like Anushka mentioned about vegetarianism versus veganism versus non-vegetarian diet. So, of course, we need to think about it. We need to make right personal choices.
Now, I invite you to take some time to ask yourself if your heart seeks to be the next Ridhima Pandey, the next Greta Thunberg, or the next Tim. If you are inspired to act, we invite you to download our e-Certing Rights app now and earn a certificate as an Earth Pro activist issued by Niners Mind and UNICEF. Download the e-Certing Rights app from Play Store today. One of the most important steps you can take is to talk about it. Have conversation around climate emergence. Now, I would like to invite Ravi from group number 3 to come ahead and talk about the recommendations from your group.
Hello everyone. We are discussing the group, the various aspects and the climate change from the different peoples, and we get to know about this how to protect and work on the ground with the local and indigenous people, and inspire through our potential education and programs and eagerness to serve with education. And currently we are running the one initiative called Athena Trust, which is focusing on the rapid implementation of solutions for the clean and green India, which is a waste problem through the detailed studies on the on-ground action with several studies. with the vision of making India great, a clean environment, water, safe food for all, together to a livable, sustainable India. And our mission is to redirect the mindset of people into circularity and getting into no waste at all, and use local resources and maybe forgotten agriculture techniques and new eco technologies. Above all, everything has to be social, eco-friendly. And our philosophy is heat, light, love. Heat means the work, the upstream contribution, research, design, and dogs the rigorous work drives the community. And the light means the visibility for the projects contributes the opportunities, challenges, and the people impact the community. And the love means the culture and the support, why we care, how we actions that grow community. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ravi. And you've already been taking steps as you shared about Earthinators initiative. So that's wonderful. And thank you for representing your group and summarizing your discussion.
Now, I would like to invite Pratham from the same group to please unmute yourself and discuss with us your recommendations.
So, hello all, my name is Pratham and I am from India. So, our group discussed on various aspects of different countries. So, I would like to tell that in recent days, technology is taking its shape very drastically, and we all are inclined towards the technology as like nothing. So, in keeping inside that in my mind, I have like collaborated with technology to solve the climatic issues. So what I have done is that I am from the last 1.5 years, I am being developing apps to resolve the problems of climatic issues, such as like I have developed an app named Suchak, in which I have seen that many people in the rural areas have lack of water availability and also the electricity availability. So in order to solve that problem, I have developed this app wherein the user can see the respective timings of the app of the water supply and can revert back to the administrator for the same. So also our group discussed about, as Ravi told, about Earthinators. So that's also a very nice initiative taken by him. So this was all about it. Thanks a lot.
Wonderful. And I'm so amazed by the steps that we as young people are taking, from apps to using technology in a way that we can reach out to the most vulnerable people who are affected by this crisis. So thank you so much. Moving on to the next group, I request Phoebe to please unmute and discuss with us your recommendations.
Firstly, I'd just like to say, like, wow, we spoke about so much in just such a short period of time. And it was so amazing to be able to reflect on how so many different countries are not only being affected by climate change, but then how as young people, we can come up with solutions and commit to them as well. So some of the things that were suggested were decreasing water usage, reiterating the like slogan recycle, reuse, reduce, to reduce deforestation and other effects of deforestation, which can be included in a planting a tree or gifting plant system. And one of our the people from our group actually spoke about how some countries actually have a system where you treat a plant as if it's a sibling, or as if it's a child or a family member, and you actually treat it as, so that was a really interesting concept that I'd never heard of. We also discussed air purifiers, artificial sanctuaries for native and migrating species, and really elaborated on how all houses should have renewable energy, and all businesses as well. Like, that would definitely help reduce emissions. We also touched on how climate change can also cause anxiety and depression for young people, and how sometimes it can be extremely overwhelming. So that was, again, an interesting point to consider. We also discussed soft plastic recycling, reducing or eliminating the use of plastic bags, using recycled clothes, and trying to use ethical brands. And then we really finished and summarized by just saying that we need to ensure that like this is all implemented, we need to do this in our own daily lives and then talk about them with other people. So our group leader finished by saying, walk the talk. You know, we're all here talking about all these amazing things, but it's not going to make any change unless we actually go out and do it ourselves. So, yeah.
Indeed. Walk the talk. Strong message and a powerful one. And thank you for also highlighting about mental health and climate change. Very relevant. Thank you so much. And now I'd call Britika to add to her takeaways from the discussion.
Thank you so much. So there were so many recommendations which are very much possible for every individual to work over. And I have so many, but in brief, I just want to explain few. Like recycling. Recycling is very, very important. Like following 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. And we should start afforestation. Like Forbes said that a few countries literally treated their saplings like their siblings and their family members, like, you know, everything like that. So a few countries also started use of renewable resources. That is very, very important nowadays. Now use of transportations instead of walking, and spreading the footprints, carbon footprints, and also donate and plant saplings. We should gift somebody on their birthdays, on their special occasions, a plant instead of any expensive gifts. And segregation of waste is a really important topic nowadays, because it will actually help to reduce all those toxic gases which actually include in the greenhouse effects and greenhouse gaseous effects. And and also we just discussed about for convincing the educational system, like by adding a subject to our curriculum or a school subject as environmental application, as our school is also done, and I'm also part of environmental application, in which we all transport and we all actually motivate others and convince others to spread awareness about the correct way to do environmenting, and planting and growing more trees and saplings, and reduce plastic, use jute polythene, jute papers instead of plastic papers for anything like carrying and everything. So these were all the points that we discussed in our group, and that was a really amazing discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and that was really, invaluable for us too, because to start off, we don't need to go for big projects or big movements. It starts with a single step of maybe using jute bags instead of plastic bags, or making a simple choice of making environment friendly choices. So thank you so much. This was last but not the least, and we have a lot of exciting things planned for you ahead. So stay connected. Neelam, would you like to share something with our audience to make this summit more interesting?
It's poll time now. Let's have a poll and see how many our participants are aware of environmental rights of the children. So our first question is, Montreal Protocol is related to ozone layer, extinction of species, endangered birds, or none of the above three.
And the next question says, largest share of mangrove is found in South Africa, India, Argentina, or Indonesia? Hope you're selecting the answers rapidly.
Indonesia.
Please fill in the poll. Please don't say it verbally.
So the third question is, what is the most basic right of all children? The right to grow you in safe environment, lead a healthy life, develop positive future perspective, or all of the above.
The fourth question says, what does UNCRC stand for? Understand national concerns regarding children. Second, universal negotiation concerning rights of the child. Third, United Nations commitment to rights of the child. Fourth, United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. And now the last question. It says, what is the right of a child? First, right to education, right to have a self-home, right to have medicine, all of the above. We hope that you've ticked the correct answers and you're ready for the results. We have the results. For the first question regarding Montreal Protocol, 70% of us got the right answer. It's ozone layer. For the second question, 41% of us have the answer. That is India.
For the third question, what is the most basic right of all children? 80% of participants have answered all of the above, and that is the answer. The fourth question, what does UNCRC stand for? The correct answer is United Nations Convention on the Right of the Child, and 68% of the children have gave the right answer. And the fifth question, what is the right of a child? 73% of all have answered it correctly to all of the above.
Yes, and we have right to education, a self-home, medicine. And I expected a larger percentage because we do have all the rights. Okay, so now we will keep an open session for our adult panelists to add in their points and their thoughts on the conversation. So you can now raise your hands and we will invite you one by one to share your learnings and recommendations.
This session is open for only 10 minutes.
Yes, so I can see Reshma. Please, yeah, you can go on.
Yes, so this is something I mentioned in the breakout room too, but I wanted to highlight it once again. So the thing I'm planning to say is that I want to highlight the importance of sharing our personal stories rather than just sharing statistics, figures, and facts, which are mostly done usually, because when we share our personal stories, it influences people more than statistics would, because statistics, they just stay in the mind of people for like a few seconds and they just forget it. But then when you share your personal stories, it touches the hearts of the people, which then influences their minds, because empathy can be far more powerful than rationality, and empathy goes farther than rationality. And another thing I would like to collaborate is that, I would like to say is that Now we were talking about child rights for the most part in our sessions yesterday and today. But then when we are fighting for one cause, if we consult the help of other vulnerable communities too, we can join hands with each other and help one another so that a bigger and more powerful movement can come about, and it can influence more people rather than like just concentrating on one issue, which can be quite narrow when you think about it, because there are a lot of differences and different kind of people in this world. And once we embrace that, our activities and activisms can be far more powerful than it is right now. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Reshmadi, and thank you so much for highlighting that value of empathy and power of storytelling. Now, I can see Tom's hand raised. Please go ahead.
I want to add a point. Climate change is a national point. It's difficult for any country to resolve it. It needs more international cooperation and communication. So I think it's so necessary and important to hold this international conference. Thank you very much. And in the future, we call on more and organizations to organize more international conference and have more international cooperation. When all people, all countries work together, we can resolve this problem. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And cooperation and collaboration is truly the way forward. And as our brother also says, that this is not just a summit, it is a process of bringing change in the world, and we are working towards it. These recommendations would be taken to the international agencies, and further, we would have the process in several phases. And surely, with the frequent meetings and deliberations, we would be able to bring the change together. So please raise your hands. The forum is open. Please raise your hands. I would recognize, and then you can unmute yourselves.
Neha, we have an important delegate with us, Safiullah from Afghanistan, quite an amazing country right now on the news, but I'm not going to push him to talk about the political scenario there. However, he didn't mention his recommendation at the end. If he wants to speak right now and give us a recommendation of how young people from Afghanistan and across the world can be part of this entire global crisis, what would his recommendation be? But Safiullah, if you want to pass the question, you're welcome to do so.
Okay, sir. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. So the main problem that the Afghan children, especially the girls, are facing in this day in Afghanistan is educated, because the new government are not allowing them to go to a school. But I think first they need to educate themselves, and then they can play a main goal and role in these big programs to solve the environmental changes. I think first they need to educate themselves, and then they can everything, and they are able to do.
Thank you so much, Safiullah, for representing your views from the country. And definitely the situation is grim, but the way you are here for us to discuss this very important issues shows us the ray of hope, and we'll surely move towards a better future. Thank you. Now, please raise your hands for those who wish to speak. Please share your thoughts. Feel free. all our attendees, observers, you have the full freedom to speak, raise your queries and questions. This is just the beginning of the conversation. Please, everyone, unmute yourselves, speak your thoughts, and show that we have our voices and it matters. Please raise your hands. Adults, please help us, devise better solutions. Your presence also matters to us a lot.
Sanjay, why don't you?
Okay, so I can see one question. Will there be no morning? No, tomorrow there will be no morning slot. We have a grand culmination ceremony in the evening, and you'll be told about it as well.
So Indrani invited Sanjay to speak. Sanjay, would you like to say something right now?
Hi, Steve. I actually was in breakout room 3, and I did mention about a poetry that I thought would have been very relevant given today's situation, and I've shared that on the chat. Yes, I'm very happy that you guys have got together and got the children involved in understanding their own roles as they become citizens of this world, and also as people who could, as individuals who have a mind and a thinking critically organized process to see what they do on a day-to-day basis, which can actually affect and help in mitigating this problem that we all are facing. It is very nice to see the spread of people, and I'm very happy. In fact, I'm in the middle of actually helping one of my mentees from the Goldman Sachs program, who was faculty at the Afghanistan University, along with her family, escaped through the Iran route. So that is why I was tied down a bit earlier in the morning. And very happy to see that there was actually an Afghanistan child, Afghani child also contributing. Still, there is, in fact, one of the most important rights that children have, first and foremost, even before we look at climate change per se, is actually peace at home and stability in their countries. So that actually takes us back to understanding of our environment and being humble, as well as being driven by the principles of harmony in all things that we do. And nature is all about harmony, as well as maintaining their space, as well as doing what they do and doing at the right time, doing it right, and not having any expectations beyond that. So indulging as well as training ourselves to be karma yogis, as it is called in our culture, where essentially I go back to one of the beautiful shlokas from Bhagavad Gita: कर्मण्यवादी के रस्ते माँ फलेषु कदाचन माँ कर्मे फल हेतुर भूमते संगोष्ठ कर्मणि, which essentially says that all humans and everybody in this world ought to do what they ought to do without having an eye on what the results are, because if you are doing the right things, the results will always be right. The dharma has to be followed. So climate change, as well as this event that you guys have organized, is actually one of the capacity building events which will help and create awareness amongst the younger generation to become more responsible citizens going forward. And yes, we have to be introspective all the time. Like some of the speakers whom I observed, very young speakers, I'm very happy that they actually express their thoughts about the fact that they see around them the unsettling consumptive lifestyles that this entire society has led the children into. They need to go back to their parents and adults and also actually, I think, teach them how to become thrifty, how to actually make sure that things are recycled and reused, not just wasted away, prevent all these single use items in their lives, believe in using their faculties and their muscle power to travel by walking or cycling rather than depend on a car, insecurities that make them afraid of people around them, which prevents them from investigating the environments that they live in, engaging with the environment. All these are small steps. All these are the real small steps which also go into sustainability and preventing climate change in the long term, if you all put your minds to it. And I'm very happy that you guys have got together. I found some time in the morning today to join, and I'm actually very grateful that I could take out this time for myself from my schedule and was destined to be a part of this small talk that you guys are having. Thank you very much and keep up the good work. I'll see wherever else that I can take out time to join you. In fact, thanks to Indrani, who also is an attendee over here, who actually reminded me in the morning and made sure that I took out time and popped up here to disturb and maybe bore you guys with a little bit of talk. And I would request one of the children to maybe read out this poem by Rudyard Kipling as one of the reminders for all of you, because I know everybody might not be aware of Hindi. One of my famous poems that I always narrate is is basically "Koshish karne walon ki hi jeet hoti hai," which I think should be the driving force for all the children here, especially from India, to convey it in English as well as in the relevant languages that the other children can handle. And you can locate this poem from Shyamlal Dwivedi, and maybe at a later instance tomorrow I will relate the poem for all the people who continue. These 80 people, I would like to see it converted to 200 people, where I will narrate this Shyamlal Dwivedi poem if I am also there at that particular time. Welcome and thanks a lot for this opportunity. Continue the good work. Goodbye. I am here still.
Neha, with your permission, I'll just respond to Sanjay. So thank you, Sanjay, for being here, and thank you, Indrani, for pushing him to speak, even though he was present here. Appreciate that. Sanjay is from the Center of Climate Change and Environmental Advisory of Andhra Pradesh, and that's why HYD at the end of his name suggests he's from Hyderabad. So you have a very eminent, knowledgeable person here attending us. And Sanjay, so we'd like your inputs into the consultation form too. You are aware that we will keep sacrosanct the children's perspectives, while we would like your expertise to also reflect back on what they're saying, because our future lies in their hands. And we're really looking forward to this. So thank you for spending time here. Indrani, would you like to come in with a comment or two? Indrani, your mic is on mute. And while
yes, I'm here. I'm back here. I was just munching something for breakfast. Sorry.
Would you like me to repeat the question, the invitation? Is this a yeah. So basically, your feelings and thoughts, or give a little bit of advice to us, to our young people here on the way forward. I've saved your name. Earth
I can even identify with some of them. Like when I was a child, my father was he was a diplomat, so he was posted in Vietnam during the war in 1968. So I understand the plight of children in war zones very well, because I was there at the age of 8 or 9 on a short visit, because I was staying with my grandparents in Calcutta. They didn't have any schools in the war zone. So I went during the Christmas holidays, and I got stuck there for 2-3 months. And I was rather disturbed by the conditions that children have to face during when there is a war in the country, because that was the time when Saigon got captured by the Viet Congs, and we used to have firings and bombings all the time. So I can understand the kind of plight the children from war zones have. Apart from that, I think the most important thing is for these children to influence the adults in their vicinity, whether it's in their own family or around them, to understand and really sort of make them do things which will save the planet. That's it. That itself is enough, I think. They really have to They have to push the adults, the decision makers, and they can do it better than us. Because when we talk, they think we are raving and ranting. So it's better if the children do it. I think their voice will be more forceful.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Indrani. Thank you, Indrani. Thank you, Sanjay. Sanjay, Indrani, all the adults present here, kindly use your good offices and your influence to invite a lot of people to tomorrow's session, because tomorrow, as we will hear later on, we have some important guests tomorrow who are influencers in our country and across the world. And we would really like to push people to really listen to the voices that matter, our young voices that matter. Over to Neha.
Surely, definitely. I'll do that. I've already done it. I'll do it again and again.
In fact, leaving Indrani to tell her story itself will be the answer to one of your participants who said that we need to have stories to actually engage the children. And her global experience that she has, she can narrate into a beautiful story, being also a dancer, I think, would actually enthrall the children. Maybe you should have a separate session for that.
Yes, Indrani. Thanks for those lovely
We
secrets.
can do a lot of entertaining stuff because I'm a radio broadcaster and I've worked in the media to entertain people. So that can be organized as well to make it fun for all the children.
Thank you, Indrani. So Sunil, who's our coordinator for the environmental issues, is taking note of that, and we certainly will organize something into the future. Over to Neha.
Thank you, sir. And I would like to thank Sanjay sir and Indrani ma'am. Like, it was really insightful, and so you touched the depths of our culture and also gave the reference of Bhagavad Gita. So thank you for that as well. And I am sure that all our participants are really energized after this. And our documenters are also like Dr. Gurpreet and Preeti. They have their hands full with lots of recommendations, suggestions, and thoughts shared by our children delegates. So that now we finally come to the end of our summit. That is today's session. And we will meet again tomorrow for the grand culmination of the ERth Summit at 5:30 p.m. IST or 12 GMT. The occasion would be graced by Deirdre Boyd, the United Nations Resident Coordinator, amongst other such distinguished guests, and the ceremony would be filled with interesting presentations and exciting performances. Please be there on time in the closing ceremony and be sure to mark a new beginning of your journey of making the world a better place.
The Just Rights Kids Award is back this year. Children from across the world have now begun standing for their rights and for those of their peers, especially the last, and the unheard. The Just Rights Kids Award recognizes the voices and efforts of children in India and honors children who are proactively working on climate change, inclusion, the UN Global Goals, that is also called Sustainable Development Goals, and child rights, with a special emphasis on the most vulnerable children. The awardees will be awarded the cash prize against a proposal and plan to further the cause of child and earth rights. The award at present is only for Indian participants. However, we hope that it will turn into a global children's prize, celebrated worldwide. Kindly follow our social media handles to learn more.
Thank you, Neelam, for sharing such a great opportunity with the Indian students. And now, finally, I would like to invite our director, Mr. Steve Rocha, for addressing the audience and share his closing remarks for everyone.
So thank you, Neha and Neelam, for coordinating and moderating this entire session so efficiently. Just representing two different voices of our Indian population and hopefully the world population of young people who come from privileged backgrounds and who need to push for policy changes that that we orient our whole lifestyles and our whole way of governance and so on. And the other is one that represents the marginalized that really feel the impact of climate change, even though they're not the cause of it. So both voices here, and thank you for so skillfully moderating us. I'm going to request all of you to turn on your videos if possible, because our moderators and our technicians back screen will be taking a photo of the entire proceedings, so that we can document it into tomorrow's summary video that we're putting together on this platform. However, if for some child protection issue you do not feel comfortable, please do not worry about turning on your video. And also for technical issues, which we understand this is the world's marginalized communities' biggest problem right now, that they do not have connectivity. And that's also a child rights issue everywhere. Thank you for all the global participants and overseas attendees who took time to come in this morning and really making this more and more global. Tomorrow, we will not be having the morning session, it will only be an evening session because it's one culmination session we're having together. The UN resident coordinator of India has agreed to be there, but we are hoping to have delegates from across the world present, listening to your voices, particularly somebody from Ireland who's going to try and push this entire effort to become more global and more in sync with the European Union. So thanks, Neha, for suggesting that we got to move from an eco-centric to move towards an eco-centric coexistence, and perhaps a linking from a egocentric consumeristic lifestyle we have right now. So I think the move should be really making choices personally, asking families to make the choices, asking your schools to make choices, asking our local villages and local mayorals or councils to basically make these choices, then surely making the world make the choices. But having you actually make your lifestyle changes is important, because people hear what you do more than what you say, okay? And certainly ensure that all of us adults, as Indrani pointed out, stop blah-blahing and do stuff that really, because now we know. So more action, less words is basically the theme that Greta and all of you young people are emphasizing on us. Please ensure that we have more overseas delegates coming in into the process forward. We hope to meet once every Sunday or Saturday into the future, where we'll actually be asking more and more young people from across the world to come in and share their views and really work on this document we want to recognize environmental rights of children. There are 45 articles of the CRC which can be evaluated by young people, who could be and understood by young people, and the rest of the 9 are just technical jargon there in the article. But there is no real mention of you having claim and rights vis-a-vis the environment. And we all know that if there's no earth to stand on, we will have no schools, we'll have no health centers, we'll have no life. And so that's the basis on which you're saying, please recognize our rights to represent our Mother Earth, because where vulnerability is concerned, we're probably closer to feeling the vulnerability Mother Earth feels. And the idea that we are not heard is something that our Mother Earth probably also vibe with. But certainly more and more, the voices of the most vulnerable among you. Okay, remember that most of you who are here on this platform may not be the most vulnerable of our Earth community. But so help us reach out to the most vulnerable in your own communities, in your own local scenarios, in your own countries. And that will be really a struggle, a challenge I'm placing before you. That is not good enough to have just different countries present here and feel good. We must have the most vulnerable from your situations. And so I'm asking you to listen to those voices in your own context and bring in those voices. It's no point of us being ambassadors and spokesmen for these people. Our role as people who are privileged is to give the mic to those to speak out for themselves. They have opinions, they have worldviews, they have experiences that we do not have. And as we keep hearing in this platform, stories matter. Your stories are the most important rather than the stats that we place before our world leaders. And I personally have seen the impact of that when we took young people to Geneva. It was stories that got ambassadors into tears, and that converted into policy decisions. Okay, and it was just simple stories of this child from this. I'm going to use the word Dalit, but in brackets use the word traditional untouchable communities of India. They spoke at this at the platform of how uh, they didn't have access to a toilet and to dignity, and that's how that entire recommendation came from Ireland because of this one speaker. Um, yes, you spoke about the 3 R's, but I think what's coming up very strongly is the 4th R of refuse. Refuse any product, refuse any lifestyle, refuse any means that is not in sync with environmental friendliness or coexistence. So please use the 4th R, which is refused by, refuse to live, refuse to follow any lifestyle that is against the earth. So your lives do matter. Certainly about curriculum, but rather than having a curriculum that is an adage and an extra curricular activity, I'm asking for the idea of embedding justice into the curriculum, embedding eco-justice into the curriculum. So when you're doing science, let's look at science from the perspective of the earth. Let's look at geography from the perspective of what it was and what it is today in terms of Himalayas being ravished with the heat and therefore icebergs being depleted, and how Himalayan communities are being susceptible to cloudbursts and to landfills and so on. That's the story we need to hear in the geography classes. In the history classes, we need to know how wars today are being propelled by the lack of water, access to land and its degradation, and to the Kiribati Islands and Bangladesh not going to have land tomorrow. So that refugee crisis and the climate crisis needs to come into our history classes rather than just looking at the World War II as something that's historic. It's happening in our midst today. So inviting all of us to move in that direction. And wonderful once again for your participation. But quickly, a vote of thanks to Edmund Rice International for co-holding this particular Summit with us, Earth Rights Summit, Edmund Rights Summit with us. Thank you to the delegates who've been present here and spent 3 good hours with us this morning, if not 3.5 hours with your preliminary session with us. Please remember this coding when you come in tomorrow, and to make it smoother tomorrow evening. You're welcome to come in the evening too, but please do not forget that in the evening you are an attendee, not a delegate. So change the D to an A in the evening. Tomorrow you'll all be delegates in the evening. Please invite your family and friends. It's important that we bring in more and more people to attend a session tomorrow, because we want to underline that your voice matters. You are not tomorrow. You are the world's today. You are not just citizens of Afghanistan and Australia, but you're also global citizens. And it's not just India's problem today of poverty. It's global policies that that do not give our 80% of India's population that are recognized as unorganized labor without rights. They're not given their rights because of global politics too. Okay, so we're living in a global environment, a global community, global village. We're happy to have globalization in our mobile phones, but let's remember that policies also are decided globally, and therefore your voice needs to be affecting those matters. And that's why we have you and your voices impacting the COP26 leaders to say, great that you're talking about carbon footprints and so on, carbon emission, but please don't forget that we are going to bear the ineffectivity or the lack of focus on the environment. We're going to have to bear this. Our lungs are going to face this. Our lives are going to face this, and our conflicts that Indra referred to is going to be aggravated by your lack of focus and your lack of commitment here. So once again, action, not words. Thanks to all the attendees who've come in, of young attendees and the adult observers being part of it. Thanks to our experts, Indrani and Sanjay, for contributing, and many others. Thanks to our moderators and our documenters, um, who are present here and who will be there in the evening. Thanks to our Pratik staff, particularly Anisha and Sunil, and all the staff members, particularly our translators for this evening, Aaron, and do we have Aksa doing the Hindi? Thank you to all of you. Once again, thanking our delegates primarily, and Neha and Neela. Thank you. Don't forget, you have homework to fill up the consultation form. That's very important. Everything you say is going to be documented, but do spend some time with that consultation form and try and give it to us by tomorrow evening. Adults too are invited to fill the consultation form, circulate it among other people as well, because it matters that that we tell the world leaders that our voice matters. I'll just give you one little window of a picture that we had. About 7 years ago, we got 500 children from slum communities in Delhi to tell us about their experience of hunger and starvation. After 2 days, they wrote to the world leaders who were about to meet in London for the Hunger Summit the next day. And they told the world leaders, please do not talk about hunger. You're wasting your time. You're wasting our time and money. Talk instead about malnutrition. Now, that was the input they gave the world leaders. And their logic was pretty simple. These are very young people that didn't have the wisdom and the statistics and the data that adults have. They said it's very simple. If you talk about hunger, you will give me a plate of rice. But if you talk about malnutrition, you will have to give me rice and lentils and fruit, vegetables, and perhaps proteins as well in various forms. But we need you to understand that hunger is not solved with rice. Hunger is solved with looking at a balanced, nutritious diet and accessibility to all of that. And that's the wisdom of you children. So please don't undermine your one voice. It matters. And I want to end with that, little note of hope. See you tomorrow with your families, moms and dads. Bring along your puppies and your kittens as well, because their voices matter. To this, and look out of your window, look out at your forests across India, bring their voice to the platform, but bring the most vulnerable voice too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Before placing the official end, I would request all of you to please switch on your camera so that we can have one photograph for remembrance.
Are we supposed to leave now?
Just in a short while, we'll just make some announcements for tomorrow, and then we could leave in this about 3 or 4 minutes. Thank you for that question.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Thank you for switching on the video, and now I pass it over to Anisha.
So as mentioned, tomorrow we will have only one session, and we start at 5:30 p.m. IST or 12 GMT. So tomorrow we just have one session and we have a grand culmination. We will be inviting dignitaries and delegates from across the world. So please be there at 5:30 p.m. tomorrow, and please invite as many as members you have, your friends, your parents, as brother mentioned, your puppies and kittens, everyone. They're all a part of ERth community. So you can invite all of them to be a part of the session tomorrow evening. The next thing is the consultation form. Please send us the consultation form by tomorrow, latest by tomorrow, end of your day, any part of the world you are. Please send it to us by tomorrow so that all of it can be incorporated into a document. So even that will take a lot of time. So requesting all of you to share the consultation form by tomorrow. You've all been emailed your country flags. So a backdrop has been emailed to all of you. Like some of you have already placed it here, a virtual background. Please try and use it for tomorrow. If you come in evening, you can come as attendees and you can use it. But tomorrow, please try and use it for sure so that we know what country you're representing. You've written it, but having a virtual background makes it uh, look more presentable. So please have that background. In case you feel you have any issue downloading the same or how to place it, you have any issues, please do write to us in the email provided to you, and our technical team will support you on how to do the same. So the consultation form is important, and your joining us tomorrow is very important. So please be there at 5:30 p.m. IST tomorrow. Thank you. So some of you have mentioned in the chat box regarding some delegates speaking tomorrow. Yes, we will have a few delegates from the morning session and a few from the evening session to speak tomorrow. All of you will be communicated by today. The morning session delegates will be communicated by today as to who is going to represent the session tomorrow morning. Tomorrow evening, I'm sorry for that. So the flag will be of the country you are representing. So it will not be your own country, but the country you're representing. So all that has been shared on the drive link that has been emailed to you. Please go through it. In case you haven't received it, please write back to us and we will send you your flags. Can we reshare the consultation form? Some of the delegates are asking for the consultation form. Yes, it is on the chat. No, you can copy the chat and keep it with you so that you can fill in the form by today.
Since we have a minute or two, just want to inform you that 9 is Mine is a national children's campaign of, for, and by children. They design the programs, they execute the programs, they evaluate the programs, and they moderate the programs. So this is basically a 9 is Mine effort to basically help young people across the world and governments across the world to understand that young people's voices matter in all decisions. We were the ones who had 120,000 children feed into the UN on the global document that we have, the global goals document, Agenda 2030. We had visually impaired children, hearing impaired children, children with child labor context and rescued child marriage victims to come in and share to the world leaders that, look, we are actually experts on poverty, climate change, and exclusion. And you need to listen to us because you are speaking from a air-conditioned room context, from a 5-star context. But we know what child marriage, child labor looks like. We know what hunger looks like. We are real experts, and you are real experts is what I want to underline. So if you want to join us on this campaign, please link up with the social media links that we have here. Keep in touch with us through the email ID that you have here. We really want your voices to matter and be taken to the highest decision-making bodies. But don't worry, don't also forget the most closest one to your homes. Go back to your village panchayats, village councils. Go back to your mayors and your municipal corporations and councils. Go back to your members of parliament and local assemblies and say, look, I am a citizen today. I may not have a vote today, but I have a voice today. And God, and whether you believe it or not, I am going to make sure it matters. Okay, at least you don't have one vote, but you have at least 2 other votes at home. Your dad and mom's vote influence that. Okay, thank you, and looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. If you have any suggestions, let us know. Sanjay, please share with us those shlokas that you had and the poem. We will try and see whether we can incorporate that even in tomorrow's program, if not in the following ones. Thank you, everybody. If you want to stay on for a few more moments, we will have an informal session. It's already past 11, so we officially close the session. Neha will do so. But if you want to stay on for an informal chat, please do that. If you have any questions, do that. The floor is open. But Neha, over to you.
Steve, I've shared the poem already on the chat, but the other poem I would prefer to recite. Maybe we can figure it out tomorrow. It's more pleasing as a story to be heard. I can recite it now in under a minute. If you want to record it, you can share, you can play it in case I'm not able to come up tomorrow.
Yes, Sanjay, give us a minute. Let Neha conclude her sessions first, and we have time afterwards post the formal closure of this particular session.
Sure.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So with this, we have come to the official end of the session. And as sir said, that floor is open. If you have any queries, please type in. We will respond to it through chat or verbally. So yeah, you can go for it, or feel free to drop off if you have no queries. Thank you.